So it is an honor to have you guys all join us today and learn about Speechcraft, the who, the what, the why, the how. And to take us through this presentation, we have none other than Gina Cook, who has been a Speechcraft advocate for many years and has used it to help clubs grow, help members grow, and she has used it to help people get their DTMs as well and grow in their own leadership journey. So please give me a warm welcome for Gina Cook.
Thank you so very much, Tanya. I have been doing Speechcraft courses probably for the past 29 years, I would say, because I started doing them fairly early and they haven't changed a lot. They've changed somewhat. They have improved over those years. And I know that they will be changing over the next couple of years to hopefully align more deeply with pathways. But in the meantime, there's still a lot that we know about Toastmasters and that we can learn about Toastmasters. So the question then is, what is the Speechcraft? And we're going to try and go through the who, what, when, where, why questions through today. And as you have questions, let's kind of address them as we go. It might be a little bit easier, and we only have an hour to have some fun together. So what is a Speechcraft program? The Speechcraft program is a communication training program. The idea of the Speechcraft program is it gives participants the elementary skills that they need if they were to join Toastmasters, that we give them what they really need very, very quickly. It's a rapid pace program that is run by Toastmasters, and you can kind of customize it to the group and to the people giving it. So you can have it as a 4-week, 5-week, 6-week, 7-week, 8-week, depending on the participants, on what you want to accomplish and how long perhaps the meeting will be. So if you have a shorter meeting time, you may want it over a longer period. If you have a longer meeting time, you might be able to shorten it up. We just finished a 5-week Speechcraft course at Canada Toastmasters, for instance, and it was great fun. And we brought in speakers and all kinds of fun stuff. But we also had 3 brand new members, and they were working the Pathways program while guests were working the new program. The rapid pace that you're going to be doing in a Speechcraft program is you want the participants to be able to present 3 different speeches. You want them to take at least one turn of doing table topics, but ideally, if you have time to do table topics every week, that's best. And for them to learn and to be able to present at least one speech evaluation. This way, they get a good taste or a good flavor of what we do in the Toastmasters program and gives them the idea and interest that they might want to come back and participate in the program. So why would you want to be doing a Speechcraft program? Well, it does help motivate the current members. And the ideal situation is that a Speechcraft program is a membership building tool. So to be able to help bring in new members is what you really are looking at doing. That's the ideal situation. In terms of motivating the current members, if you have a small group, that especially those that are starting to get maybe a little bit overwhelmed by doing the same things over and over and over again, or they're taking on 3-4 roles a meeting, having a Speechcraft program, you'd be able to get help from members from outside your club, especially right now when it's online. It makes it much easier to get help because people don't have to travel to your club, and they only have to give you as much time as it is that takes up your meeting. So for the motivation aspect of it, I think that it is actually a little bit easier on your members to be able to bring in some outside help to be able to run the program. It adds the new members. It can also bring in new energy, and you can have mentoring for those new members, and it does help build teamwork. And that's some of the things that I've definitely seen over the number of times that I've been able to coordinate Speechcraft programs or participate as a helper in Speechcraft programs. So we were talking about this before we started with Tanya, and it was, why would you want to do a Speechcraft program if you, except for the club, what personally will you get out of it? Well, one of the great things is that under the club extension portion of your DTM award is the fact that you're going to want to take a look at either being a club sponsor, doing a youth leadership program, or putting on a Speechcraft program. Now, the youth leadership program is great. It doesn't necessarily give you members right away, though. I'm the product, by the way, of a youth leadership program when I was 16. I joined when I was about 27. So the idea of a Speechcraft program, though, is that this is the tool that will help you get newer members much sooner, much faster. As we move forward, who is it for? Now, we talk about new members, but also you're going to be taking a look at the, oops, let me go back there. It's not just for new members that can participate. As we bring in participants for a Speechcraft course, if you've got members that have just started the Pathways program or they've just signed up within the last month or so, they will be able to benefit by all of the different workshops that you do in the Speechcraft program, all the different educational topics, and getting them started towards that level 1 completion. And that's what we were able to do at the program that we just finished. Your customers. As we mentioned, new members, existing members. Do you have in your club existing members who completed perhaps a CC, an advanced Toastmasters designation, and are now starting the Pathways program, but haven't really gotten off their butts and started it? Well, this is one way of getting them to do their speeches as well. They can participate as a participant in the program too, which makes it a lot more fun. What you need to do as a coordinator is to be able to put together the whole package and be able to coordinate with people as we are working through, not just working through the program, but putting it together all at the beginning before you even start. So you're going to be looking at who in the club would be interested in helping with the educational talks, because those talks can count as their own pathway speeches. Then you're going to want to see who's going to be available to do the specific roles, like the Toastmaster, the speech evaluators, the table topics, until you get the participants involved. This is where taking a look at members that are outside of your club to be able to come in and help will also assist you so that you're not trying to do everything yourself. Now, I can tell you that there have been Speechcraft programs where myself and one other person did the entire program. There's not a lot of fun to do that. It was a lot of stress and a lot of work, but it is possible. I would highly recommend to get as much help as you can and share the fun and share the load. And this is where project management comes into play. So you or whoever is going to be doing the coordination of the program will be the person who gets that credit towards their DTM. Usually one club is involved. Again, if you are looking to do a little bit more work, perhaps you can split it up between 2 clubs. I'm not sure. I've not tried that myself. But you need to have some significant helpers in putting the program together before you start. And yes, you can also use this perhaps as an HPL project because you're going to be doing a lot more work, and having an advisory committee might help you quite a lot in that program. Little thoughts. Okay, flyers and programs. The package actually contains several different flyers. I think you get about 20 of these ones. and about 3 or 4 of these ones. You also get 2 coordinator guides and 5 workbooks for the participants. And within each one, there are several different projects, speeches, evaluations that can be gone through in your program. You need to start the idea well in advance, because you need to have time to put together your advertisement or your publicity to be able to get the people to participate. Back when we were meeting in person and we had the local newspapers that were available to put articles in, I used to be able to do that, and I would have a lineup of people that were interested. Online, it's a little trickier, but it's definitely doable. And places to publicize or advertise is probably a little bit more limited, but I'm finding still that Facebook and your own websites are probably one of the top places that people will look, as well as small business associations in your area, or putting out on local magazines, perhaps, or local newspapers where you can. But you want, and then what you also want to do is you want to put together some sort of plan that you are going to go to the club to make sure that you have total buy-in by the members on what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and how it's going to be dealt with each week, because you want them involved as much as possible. I've never run a Speechcraft course where I've lost members because we didn't involve them, but I have heard of other clubs that didn't talk to their members and therefore ended up losing people because they weren't involved. So it's something that you do definitely want the buy-in for. You can talk to your team, gather them virtually at this point, and just make sure that you get them motivated. Sometimes we do a Speechcraft course for clubs that are very low in membership, and so they start to get really burned out. So to be able to get them motivated and keep them motivated through the program will be very helpful for you. The schedule, again, is really up to you as to how long you actually put the schedule together for. But you want to make sure that during the agenda that you're going to have time for the speeches, time for training topics, which can be just a longer speech, time ideally for table topics, and time for the speech evaluations. One of the things that we did is for the training topics, because each of the trainers were using it as a pathway speech, we had silent evaluations and gave the verbal after the agenda or after the meeting, because we didn't have time during the meeting to be able to do that. And then other clubs also have mentoring sessions for new members that they do during the actual meeting. I tend to do that outside of the meeting time because our agendas are jam-packed. We just don't have the time, and we didn't have the idea of a breakout room to be able to do that with. But if you're doing it in person, or you're doing it using something like a Zoom session that you've paid for, you might be able to have a 10-minute breakout sessions or breakout rooms where the participant and a mentor can meet and discuss their different projects and then get back together again. I'm told that it is very effective and the participants really like it. So what is different? In the agenda, you get rid of as much as you can that doesn't fit in for now. So the thought of the day, the toast, the joke or the humorous thought, any business announcements or announcements to the members, if you can do that outside of the club meeting part, that would be best, instead of inundating the participants with all of the normal club things, because the meetings are so jam-packed full of information. So educational topics, what do we normally cover? Something like select a topic, how to structure your speech, how to use vocal variety, how to use gestures and body language, and how to give a speech evaluation or an evaluation. And being able to cover all of those topics, along with some other ones that might be very useful, you ensure that the participant walks away with a really good understanding or of the basics that we do in the Toastmasters program. So in the schedule, you can schedule this during your own club meetings. You can schedule it so that you have one regular club meeting and one Speechcraft meeting, then one regular meeting, one Speechcraft meeting. You can schedule it, oops, I just said that, 2 seminars in a row that followed by a regular meeting, any way that you want so that it works out best for the current members as well as the participants. So take a look. I would recommend to also take a look on the calendar to make sure that you're not going to be scheduling it on Halloween or a special holiday, any type of special holiday, because you're going to have a number of dropouts on that day. Done that. So what tools do you have? Well, I mentioned the tools that come with the package, 10 participant books, certificates. You get participation certificates as well as coordinator certificates. And what you want to do is after you have completed the program is to, at least for you as a coordinator, to have the club president sign and date a coordinator certificate for you so that you can keep it as proof when you go to register for your next DTM. Because that's about the only proof you will otherwise have. The cost for the package is normally about $20 US plus shipping. So the fact that the district right now is authorized me to be able to ship to any club that is registered with less than 20 members, a package free of charge to you is a great thing. I just need your mailing address and you can send that to me by email. If you are above 20 but still are interested in purchasing a package for yourself, just go to the toastmasters.org website under shop and purchase it. It's all good. What is Pathways in comparison to the Speechcraft course? Well, what I've done is when we've had members that were interested or fairly new, we've gotten them to do the level 1 speeches. So the icebreaker is still the same, whether it was on Pathways or through the Speechcraft course. The evaluation and feedback program, so you do a speech, do an evaluation, do a speech again using the feedback from that first speech. And you should be able to have all of the participants do these areas or these Pathways projects. So if the participant decides to join afterwards, after the Speechcraft program is completed, you actually have a letter that you can put, have them fill out and put to Toastmasters to be able to have their icebreaker go towards the Pathways program. And then table topics. And okay, talked about cost. The cost involved in the Speechcraft is totally up to the club as to how much they charge. I have seen anywhere from $5 to $1,000 per person. Depends on what value you put on the Speechcraft program itself. And the $1,000 one was not in this country, by the way. Because the membership is not a mandatory thing, what some clubs do is that they charge for 6-month membership fee. And during that 6-month membership fee, they actually register that person as a new member of the club for 6 months. I think they would still have to do all of the legalities and the application forms and the voting in if they were to do that. I've not done that myself. What I have done in the past is to be able to say, 6-week program, here's $60. And if you decide to join, we'll take whatever you paid for the program and put it towards your membership fee. But I've never charged someone to join that wasn't prepared to join the club. And then if you've got existing members of the club, it's going to be free to them. Another thought that came up is that if you've got Toastmasters from another club that are interested in participating in your Speechcraft program, that you could charge them, but less than what you would for a brand new participant. Okay, and I already talked about the 6-month program. Alrighty, key messages. So some things to do and some to avoid. So the to-dos. Be prepared. Communicate your plan, especially with your club members, but also with the participants. Maybe take some risks. It's a little bit different than maybe what you're used to. Try to motivate the current members of the club to be able to do this task, and delegate as much as you can. Remember, you are coordinating this. You don't have to do all of the work. That's what you have a team for. It's just like a club officer. You may be responsible for the work, but you don't have to do all the work. And evaluate. Make sure that you get evaluated for the work that you are doing so that you can do a better job next time, perhaps. Things to avoid. Don't do it by yourself. It's a lot of work. Don't do it by yourself. Take my word on that. You want to make sure that you prepare your club so that they know what's going on, how it's going to work, what they need to be doing, how they need to be acting. You want to make sure you clarify the goals that you have for this program. Perhaps you want to make sure that by the end of the program that you've asked to limit the number of participants to 8 participants, but you want at least 4 of them to join the club by the end. And don't refuse members' help. If they're willing to help, make sure that you take it. It's always a good thing. And make sure that you take a look and investigate the mentoring time within the program for the members. And here's my email address for those that are interested in the program, to make sure that you get back to me with a mailing address and an idea of when or who the coordinator will be, so that I can report that at some point to the district. Now the time for fun begins. Let's talk about question and answers. I've given you quite a bit of information as to what the program is about, what can be done in it. What kind of questions do you have at this point? Norm.
With your email address, I got as far as Gina Cook at
P.O. Box, like post office box.com.
Thank you.
Yeah, there we go. I put it in the chat for everyone. Okay, Michelle.
Hi, Gina. How are you?
I'm great.
Okay, so the question I have for you is, obviously these manuals are all in print format, but being that we're doing things virtually, there's nothing digital yet?
Nothing.
Yeah.
I know that, and the problem is, of course, is that if there is a digital copy that's out there that other people have scanned in, it's an illegal scan because it's copyrighted.
Yeah.
So the idea that what we were planning to do in our club was to get the list of the participants ahead of time and then mail them the copy of the package. Like you would just be mailing the one workbook.
Right.
So it might cost $1.50 or something.
Yeah, no, I realize that, but then we have to mail out the certificates and all the rest of it as well. You know, so.
Well, you can always scan those.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Do you know if TI is planning on digitizing this, especially in this environment? I mean,
the last time I have heard of any updates is that Toastmasters International was talking about upgrading the entire package to be closer to Pathways. But I heard that 2 years ago, and I haven't seen anything happening with it yet.
I will also mention, Gina, they have done some test dev in a couple of districts of that exact thing. So it's moving further along. They mentioned it in August at the board briefing that where they were at on the test dev of it. So hopefully sooner rather than later, we will see it. But as it stands now, it's in the state that it is.
Okay. Monique, you had your hand up?
So it's safe to assume that the handbook is the same handbook from the legacy system.
Yep.
Exact same thing. There's no change other than that we would say to them the fundamental structures are exactly the same if you decide to join, and it'll be replicated when you go into pathways because these first few speeches are repeated regardless of what pathway you go on.
Yes, and what happens is that basically you're looking at the skills being transferable, but not necessarily anything more than the icebreaker speech. Okay. Now, who did I see down here? Claude, I saw your hand. Yeah.
Yes, it's about the agenda, Gina. At some point I thought I had it clear, but then I got confused. So is there an agenda at every week, a different agenda, like when we run a regular meeting?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yes. And it depends on whether or not you do a 4-week, a 6-week, an 8-week program as to
Okay.
how much information is actually there. The Speechcraft program that we ran, we had three speeches, an educational talk, a demo speech for that educational talk, and a full evaluation for all of the speeches that were done by the participants.
Okay.
And table topics. So we had to kind of cram a lot in, and that's why you had to get rid of all the other fun and glorious stuff that we don't get to use unless we've got enough members.
Which brings me to another question, if I could. How long are the meetings? An hour?
If your club meeting is an hour, you can have it for an hour. If your club meeting is for 2 hours, you can have it for the full 2 hours.
I see. Okay.
I find it much easier to do a Speechcraft program in an evening club because there's more time and people are a little bit more relaxed. Whereas we know for those of you that belong to corporate clubs or clubs that meet during the day, everything's crammed in and you don't have the social time between things. So everything is very go, 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 bye.
Yeah.
I saw Michelle laughing there. Yes. All right. I'm looking for Todd.
So I have a quick question. What is the difference between the new Pathways Fast Track that they mention and Speechcraft?
I am not familiar with the Fast Track except for the program that was run last year, but I don't know what the Fast Track is, Todd.
Okay, it's not the accelerated day thing that we had in our district. It's actually kind of a $5 or $10 thing that you can purchase from Toastmasters International that provides you the 3 fundamentals of giving a speech, like, creating the topic, structuring your speech, and it seems to be coming out in almost every kind of club that I go and visit or sign up on their contact sheet. It sends me like a list of these things, and I was just wondering if you've had a chance to see it or play with it.
No, I haven't.
So I was wondering what the difference is, but that was my first question. My second question was, I'm actually a product of the Speechcraft course when I joined Toastmasters years and years ago. And I've actually used it a couple times to start clubs like the McGill Club, like the Pure Phone Club, like the Singled Out Club. And we have done it where we have charged people up to $100. So it was like a $50 for the club, and it was $50 for the first 6 months. And we have done it where we've done it for free, and we've had varying degrees of success with that on each side. Now, I know our club was supposed to do a Speechcraft course with our previous coach in the last session, but it was dropped because it would take too long or wasn't going to be able to be completed before the DTM legacy would expire. So I'm not sure what the status of that is after you start saying you're going to have a Speechcraft course, and how long that lasts before you're able to make another request on the resources in the district.
Well, right now, I think that it would be given in good faith. So if your plan is to start a Speechcraft course in January, you request the package now, and if things fall through, you've got the package for the club so that you can put it together perhaps in April or in September, but you've got the package. But it's all in good faith that you're not just going to throw it in the trash.
And you said something about there being 10 certificates,
Yes.
but there's only 5 manuals for the client,
Yes.
for the participants.
I
So
think
are
if
the
you make
participants supposed to
mistakes-
share?
No, I think if you make mistakes, they give you extras.
Oh, you mean they give you extra certificates? You're going to
They
make
give
a
you
mistake on the
extra
certificate, but you're not going to make a mistake on the 5 people. So if you're going to have 10 people, you need to get 2 sets of packages.
Yes.
But only one person can be considered the coordinator, even though you have multiple packages.
Yes. Yes, you are correct. Okay, I'm going to go to questions here. And Monique has asked if she could get a copy of the presentation. It is not my presentation, so I'm sorry, I cannot share it with you. You can ask Nicole, Odette, Nicole@gmail.com. She's doing the French section right afterwards. Is there a slide?
I was here.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yes, I am here.
I was just saying that it would be nice to have the presentation. I'm sure others here as well, because some of us are here on behalf of our executive, and to report back. I mean, I've taken copious notes, but not pretty. And a lot of, and then like you say, we want to share it with the rest of our club members. So instead of having to, rather work smarter than harder, take advantage of the presentations that you guys have done. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I will leave it up to Nicole to make that decision, since it is her presentation and her property.
Okay, if you mean that you want to have the slides? Yeah, I don't mind to share them. So
Okay.
just only to keep my name on the slides. That's it. Yes, I can share them. No problem.
Okay.
And
I'll send it
Gina, she showed you the PowerPoint, but if you have a Mac, I have the Keynote version, and the animations are different. So if you want the Keynote version, just send me an email at odettenicole@gmail.com.
Okay. Thank you, Nicole. So Claudio asked, is there a slide deck to support the run? To support the run of the Speechcraft that is shared or should be shared with District 61? Not at this point that I know, but we will. I know that the recording of this webinar will be shared on the webinar page at some point in the future, if that's what you were asking about.
Yeah, my question is in regards, as everything is digital, we don't have any material to present to the participants. And if somebody create a PowerPoint, we could just share it and use it. Would be easier than creating one from scratch.
But that's part of the joy of being the coordinator, is to be able to create your material and to give opportunities for your club members to be able to create material on things like how to use gestures, how to use vocal variety, as opposed to having a already created program that you just cut out and click and put into place.
I know that when we do educationals, there used to be with Toastmasters International, they have all those presentations, but now you can't even alter them to add your own personality. So I mean, we put in our club personality, and also too, more of a Canadian flavor. Why would we want quotations from famous Americans when we have equally famous Canadians? So
there you go.
Let's go.
That's a spirit, Monique.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I have a question, Gina.
Yes, Claude.
So, okay, so I've got the manual, as I mentioned before. I've got the package and all that. I'm looking at it now. Obviously, I can see that the first meeting, I'd be chairing it because I'm setting up the whole thing. It's fair to say. And that's no problem because I've got all the instructions there and I know exactly what to do. So I'm clear on that. What happens meeting number 2? Who chairs the meeting number 2?
And this is where you can share it within the team that is there of current members. What we did is we tried to get everyone to take a turn like you would normally on your Toastmaster agenda. This week I'll be Toastmaster, next week Monique, the week after Helen, perhaps the third week will be Alan, the fourth week, right? So everyone takes a turn and then everyone else takes a turn on the speech evaluation roles as well as perhaps the general evaluator role.
Okay, so it's not a given that I'm going to chair every meeting.
No, you don't want to do that because you'll get
And-
burned out doing that.
And that's exactly what you said, share the load. Yeah, okay.
And as well, the participants are like, oh, okay, here we go again.
Okay,
Right?
and do you
Because
find...
you're not being the trainer here. You're actually kind of showing them a little bit about what a regular Toastmaster meeting is like.
Okay.
So that way they're seeing, oh, okay, Claude doesn't do this role every week. They seem to take turns. This is good. This is interesting. Okay. That means if I were to join, I would have the opportunity to learn how to do that role and then that role and then that role.
Yeah, it's as well good for the participants and the people helping you. I can see that. What about the last session? I would assume that, or it's an assumption from my end, I would assume that I would chair it just to wrap up the whole thing. Is that fair or?
Not necessarily.
No.
Again, you can if you want, but what you can do is to ensure that you've got time on the agenda put aside to have like a graduation ceremony. If you were in person or even online, just, you have to tweak it a little bit different, but to be able to have, congratulations to Helen, who has completed the Speechcraft course. Here's your certificate, and congratulate and bring them up one at a time and have them stay up on stage, take a picture of them. Well, we've done that. Online, it's just a little bit trickier and you do it one at a time, and you can perhaps create a banner and share it so that it makes it a little bit special.
Okay.
That's
I think it's fair to say though that at this point, the meetings are 99% will be online.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm thinking for the next year, they'll still be online.
Okay.
So it's just, you're going to be taking the program and tweaking it a bit for yourselves.
Okay.
Yeah. Michelle?
Yeah, hi. I'm just wondering, in your experience, do most of the Speechcraft, are they done in a regular club meeting? Or have many of them been done apart from club meetings?
A large majority of them, I'd probably say, like just guessing, I would probably guess 80% are done in the club meeting and probably 20% outside of the club meeting, because there are different organizations that we use Speechcraft courses for to help them. And I could remember when I first started, we used to do a Speechcraft course for a special group that were immigrants, the recent immigrants into Canada, and they were setting up an executive. So we would do a Speechcraft course for them to train the executives on not just how to talk and how to become more confident in their English skills, but to be able to learn how to chair a meeting and how to give feedback.
Right.
So
because
yes.
in our club, we have several members already. So I didn't want to hijack, for example, our meetings for Speechcraft, at least not for the full session. We might do one within our club meeting, say the last one, once we've done all the educationals with the participants, and then bring them into our meeting and possibly convert them into membership at that point. I'm just thinking, because there's our club members wanting to do their own speeches and whatever else, and this is really an opportunity for us to teach the craft to other people. So that's why I'm thinking for our club, we already have 27 members. So
okay, and there's twofold there. The members that are doing the educational talks can use those educational talks as part of their Pathways program. B, the participants get used to coming out every Wednesday evening or Thursday lunch. That specific time frame is now booked for visiting that Toastmaster club for Speechcraft. then you convert them to a member, they're used to that time and date. If you're having them outside of that time and date, then it makes it a little bit more awkward because they were available then, they're not available for that time.
Right. No, but I mean, we're packaging it as a, say, a 4-session, 2-hour 4-session thing. And then from there, they can go ahead and join our Toastmasters. Anyway, I guess, obviously we have the flexibility to do as we wish, I guess, whichever works the best.
Yeah. And the other thing is that if you want to do a Speechcraft, but perhaps your club doesn't need a Speechcraft course, take a look at the clubs around you that could really use your help by putting on a Speechcraft course in their club instead. And still getting the credit for giving a Speechcraft course. Because a lot of the small clubs, the under-strength clubs, absolutely need your help. And they may not have the strength and manpower to be able to put it on.
Right. No, understandably, yeah.
Or the motivation. Helen.
Yeah, I see very clearly how what you have described could be beneficial for a small club and for starting and for a club that has a lot of new members to get them versed in what the techniques and processes of Toastmasters are and to really launch them into pathways. But I have to admit, I'm having a little bit of difficulty understanding the recruitment aspect of it. I do see the benefits to people that are already members, but I'm struggling to understand exactly the recruitment aspect of getting new members.
To be able to getting them to join, or just the idea of using this as a membership tool?
Both, and attracting new and attracting people that are not already members to come to Speechcraft.
Okay, you know what? I'm going to ask Todd, since he is a product of the Speechcraft program. Todd, when you first started off in the Speechcraft program, was it something that was introduced to you as a, here, take this course and don't come back? Or here, come over, take this course, and while you're here, join the club?
So the Speechcraft course was being given by the Dollard des Ormeaux Club in '97 when I joined. And it was after I came back from kissing the Blarney Stone and saying I want to become a better speaker. So I already had a goal to do the course and become a better speaker. And it wasn't necessarily pushed as a, you know, do this 6-week course and then you will be a member, but it had a, I think we spent like $20 or $30, and then we became a member for the next 6 months. So I was the only person who actually stayed. Actually, that's not true. There was 2 of us who stayed after the initial Speechcraft course was given. And then I'm the only one, I think, that's still in the organization so many years later. But I know in other clubs, when we used it to start the club, like for the Pure Phone Club, it took us 3 years to get that club started. And we did multiple Speechcraft courses to finally have the traction it needed to get going. The McGill Club started right away because it was designed for the executive MBA program, and it was given as a course to develop the skills so that they could give their theses. The only problem is keeping it as a club was a real chore, because every year they would graduate everybody and we'd have to start all over again with a Speechcraft course to build the membership. So that was not a really good thing for that. But I mean, after we got the momentum and traction going, McGill's been one of the biggest clubs ever since.
And what I can tell you, Helen, is from my standpoint, when I've run Speechcraft courses, what I do is we introduce on basically in the first day, introduce what is Toastmasters, what are the benefits of joining a Toastmasters club, so that when you've got 8 to 10 guests in your room, to be able to state, you know, what do we do here? What are the benefits if you decide to stay afterwards? And if you've got a small club, having that kind of inflow of people is amazing. And the energy that it brings to, especially to an executive team that is small and has been struggling, it's amazing. It really does help both the members, and we get a lot of good information and teamwork from the participants who join as members. A few years ago, we did a Speechcraft. I think I had 10 participants, of which 8 of them joined as members. And several of them are still members of the program. Are there any other questions? Lynn?
Hi, this isn't a question, but it's a comment after listening to everyone else. It gave me some ideas. You know, I'm located in Arnprior, which is a town that's starting to boom from 6,000 up to about 11,000 now. And I got thinking of different places I could approach, and it might help others too, since we're now affiliated with Rotary. And Rotary does presentations in Arnprior for fundraisers for international students and things like that. That might be a place to get some people who are new members there and not very good at speaking. And I also thought of the new Seniors Active Living Center, because I know a lot of the people there like to tell stories, and they're often on Zoom with their grandkids, and this might help them feel more comfortable with that format. I also thought of aerospace and Pfizer and some of the other companies that have employees who have to do presentations. And my last thought, and I think probably a really good bet, would be On Track. And the Willis College in Arnprior, because a lot of people there are going into jobs where they may need to meet other people or have to do little presentations. And this is really inspiring me to contact these people and see if they would like to join.
Excellent. Glad to hear that. Okay. Are there any other questions?
Gina.
Oh, Claude?
So I've got the package, and my goal is to time not allowing me right now to start, maybe promoting in December and starting in January. So running it in January. I think you mentioned it, but I just want to clarify and make sure. Who is supposed to be in the know that I'm running Speechcraft? The president of my club, I think you said.
If you're running it in your club, then your club members should know about it. If you're running it outside of your club, then whoever you have as your team needs to know when and where.
Okay.
If you're running it in another club, then the other club needs to know about it.
Makes sense. I guess I wasn't clear in terms of for the credits, to get the credit for the
the
DTM
credit,
thing.
then it would probably be your vice president education for now.
Oh, VPN, okay.
Depending on when you're going to be getting your DTM, because that certificate is going to stay with you until you're ready to sign up. And whether you're able to get it this year or next year, then next year's VP Ed will probably want to see that certificate.
Okay.
But yes, your club president and VP education probably would be best to know that you're getting ready to do this.
Running the program.
And of course, if you use it for something like an HPL, then you're going to be telling the whole club about it.
Yeah, I could see that.
In a speech.
Yeah. Okay.
Michelle?
Oh,
No, you're good? Okay. Nicole, you had something you wanted to say?
yes, I want to answer Claude. Just if you receive your certificate, put it in your e-portfolio in your Toastmaster. There's a portfolio where you can download all your certificates and evaluation forms, so you won't lose it.
What a
so
good
anytime
idea.
you will find it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Margaret, did I see your hand up? No?
I think
Okay.
Todd had a question.
No, hold on. And Philippe?
Amy, actually.
Amy. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Okay, I have a question about the booklets
Okay.
and the current club members. So if you run the Speechcraft as part of your club, regular meeting time, does that mean that all of your members need to have a booklet as well as the people joining you for the Speechcraft?
Well, if your members are on pathways, then they're not going to need the same booklet because they're going to be using their pathways projects instead of the projects in the booklet. But anyone who's not a member of Toastmasters would end up using the booklet.
Okay, thank you.
That makes sense? And that'll save you a few booklets as well. Monique, you had your hand up, but it's out of view, so I can barely see it. You're on mute. You're on mute, Monique.
Okay.
Try again.
Okay. So we had marginal success with Speechcraft before. We might have 4 guests and maybe 1 would join up. But now I'm wondering, so let's say someone goes to Speechcraft and attends, but they're not ready to join. How long can they hang on to their credit of those 3 speeches? So let's say they came to a Speechcraft in March, and then they decided in August they're going to join. Will their 3 credits that they did, like how long would it hold value?
Only the icebreaker is transferable. The other speeches, the skills are transferable, but not the projects. Not the speeches.
Oh, that's a difference from the other, the
No,
legacy program.
That was pretty well the way it was supposed to be, but most of us basically gave extra time so that they could transfer the speeches. Now those other speeches are not transferable. So the icebreaker is
Some of us legacy types are going to have our memory banks wiped out, because both Margaret and I, we remember giving the person, if they signed up, the first 3 speeches were considered done.
Yeah, that's the way we used to do it as well. But because of the pathway system, it is different. So unless that you change the focus of the path of the Speechcraft course, then they're going to be redoing the speeches. But the thing is, the skills are learned. So to be able to, they could give the same speeches again. They've got them, if they've got them written, they could give those speeches again. Just in the Pathways program, they're going to be 5 to 7 minute as opposed to the 3 to 5 minute that the Speechcraft originally had.
Gina, can we adapt the Speechcraft to ask the participants to do a 5 to 7 minutes for their second and third speech and count them in the pathway if they are members? Imagine they are all members. They became members.
If they are already Toastmaster members, they can use their Pathways projects instead. But if they are not members, then they're using the Speechcraft material, and these projects are a little bit different.
But if they are members, they can use them.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Therein lies the incentive.
Michelle, sorry?
Therein lies the incentive.
Absolutely.
Get them to become members, then they get credited for everything they've done in Speechcraft.
Yep. Exactly. Well, I hope that I've been able to impart some wisdom of my years of doing Speechcraft courses, and hopefully I've motivated 1 or 2 or inspired 1 or 3 to be able to do the Speechcraft course. Again, if your club needs a package and you are under 20 members, contact me and I will ship one out to you. Lynn has already contacted me and I have a package that'll be ready to go in the mail to her tomorrow. So let me know. I now return control to Tanya, our program quality director.
I was jumping the gun there. Sorry, Gina.
That's okay.
I want to thank you